Rabbi Hannah, Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
I'm here tonight in two capacities. The first is on behalf of His Majesty's government and the Prime Minister to express our solidarity with the Jewish community and our horror at the terrorist outrage that took place outside Heaton Park Shul yesterday. I'm also here as a member of this community in which, as Rabbi Hannah said, both my children were bat mitzvahed, where I slept on this floor on youth movement weekends, and where so many of my friends born of my experience belong to this shul. So this spot holds a very special place to so many of us. It's somewhere that we come to celebrate landmark moments in our lives, to pray, to be together, to celebrate. But it's also somewhere where we come to mourn. And it's somewhere we come when we are lost or we are afraid. And it is often events such as yesterday that bring our communities together. It binds us together closer. We hug our children a little tighter, and we hug ourselves tighter too. And as with the Shabbat after the 7th of October, there is sense in coming together to make sense of the tragic, to work through together the pain, the grief, the bewilderment, and the anger. And that is how I felt yesterday and how I feel now. And I don't want to be impertinent to suggest how you feel, but I suggest that is how we feel. It's the oddness of this modern age that for many of us, atrocities are experienced remotely. And the first I heard of the horrific attacks in Manchester yesterday was, I'm sure like many of you, when I looked at my phone. We all go through a range of emotions in that exact moment, many miles away. Where are our family and friends? Fear at what you learn, anger, grief. But of course, I will never be able to imagine the devastation of the community in Manchester who have suffered such a shocking and cowardly terrorist attack. Let alone will I ever truly be able to comprehend the loss that the families are facing. So let me begin by expressing mine and the Prime Minister's and all my colleagues in government's deepest sympathies to the families of Adrian Dolby and Melvin Kravitz and those who are injured and traumatised by the terrorist atrocity. They and their families are, I am sure, in all our hearts today. They have suffered a trauma that no one should ever endure, and it is a pain that stretches across our community. I also want to pay tribute to all of you here today. I know that many parents and grandparents, elder brothers and sisters would have been asking the same questions about coming tonight. Should we go? What are the risks? Can we keep our families safe? As I rushed into a Cobra meeting yesterday, Karen and I spoke on the phone, not only about the risks of her and my youngest attending at the Sternberg Centre for Services, but the sense of duty that she felt to attend and the sense that she and we should never be cowed by terrorism. And this, I know, is not a new feeling for us. Many times I know we would have felt at the back of our minds as we've entered shuls whether this might be the time. For this was an attack on a place of worship, of a sanctuary, but it was also an assault on those, and not only, I should say, an assault on those who gather there, but an assault on the principle of freedom itself. The freedom to live openly, the freedom to worship without fear, and the freedom to belong. Now, I am not going to make a government speech tonight, but I do want to assure you of this on behalf of the Prime Minister. There will be, of course, an urgent need for us to learn every lesson that we can about yesterday's attack. We'll need to review security and ensure that our justice system secures accountability. We already work incredibly closely with the CST, but we will redouble our efforts to work with them as well as the police and our security and intelligence community. We will work to ensure that the Jewish population of this country are not simply able to exercise the fundamental right to live and pray without fear of violence or intimidation, but that Jewish life in this country continues to flourish. The Prime Minister and the Home Secretary have already outlined the steps that we are taking to protect and promote Jewish life in this country. A Dovar Torah is not the place to list them. But there is also another essential project for the government in which I proudly serve, one that addresses not only the immediate needs of security of our synagogues, schools and community centres, but the underlying cause of yesterday's atrocity, the scourge that is anti-Semitism. We in government are in no doubt that the community has faced an unprecedented rise in anti-Semitism since October the 7th, and that everything must be done to counter it. The shocking rise in anti-Semitism has been measured, not least by my friend, Dr. Jonathan Boyd of the Institute of Jewish Policy Research, who records that 32% of adult British Jews experienced at least one anti-Semitic attack in 2024. But what he also notes, which is equally appalling, is the insipid rise since 7th of October of what has been labelled ambient anti-Semitism. Small acts that feel anti-Semitic, even if not intended that way. For example, posters of hostages torn down, or environments in which Jews conceal their Jewishness for fear of hostility or isolation. Today, 35% of British Jews report feeling unsafe as a Jew in Britain, compared to 9% before October the 7th. And I know just how personally committed the Prime Minister is to tackling this, how he will not rest until our community feels safe. And I bring you tonight his personal commitment to redouble every effort to that end. But I hope we take some solace here tonight as British Jews, cognizant of our long history, that we are in that history in a somewhat unique place, that when anti-Semitic outrages take place, the state does not sit idly by at best, but that it puts every sinew, every arm of the state, from police to central government to our intelligence community, at the service of tackling anti-Semitism. There is one further important lesson that I'd suggest we need to learn. That is never, ever let terrorists divide our communities. This is a proud, tolerant, and diverse nation, and all our communities are stronger when these values are at the fore. The Jewish values we grew up with recognise this, promote this. Love for all our fellow human beings always outshines hatred and division. I grew up in this room and in the halls of the youth movements, inspired by the principles of tikkun, of the Jewish obligation to repair, to make the world better. As you will know, it's not just tikkun olam, repair the world. It's tikkun atzmi, personal repair. It's tikkun ha'am, repair of the Jewish people. And they only coexist together in a synergistic relationship. We will never repair ourselves or the Jewish people if we are not repairing the world. We will never repair the world unless we look to ourselves. Of course, on days like this, of course we can be angry. Of course we can demand justice. But we must never let the politics of division infect our discourse, for that would be allowed the terrorists to win. Now, many of us would have felt this in real terms yesterday, as messages of concern, love and support were received by non-Jewish friends, expressing their love, their concern, their shared outrage. I take huge comfort as a British Jew that once the Cobra meeting was finished, the Prime Minister, the Chancellor of the Exchequer and the Foreign Secretary attended the Nila service at West London. I take huge comfort as a British Jew that one of the first messages I received on my phone expressing concern, outrage and love was from my dear friend Shabana Mahmood, the first British Muslim woman to be Home Secretary. These relationships, mirrored in relationships that millions of us in this country, are deep friendships forged without regard to which God we pray for or the colour of our skin. These are the messages, this is the ethos I believe we need to cherish. Let me begin where I began. So I beg your pardon, let me end where I began. On behalf of the Prime Minister, I express our condolences to the family and our solidarity to the Jewish communities throughout this country. Shabbat Shalom.